present yourself to the public.
I think that's great. I think that's great. Somebody once said it's the personality of your product or your service. It's sort of, and I keep reading, people kind of keep going back to this idea of like comparing Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks. And I think those are kind of the bookends of branding. I mean, they both are known for their coffee. And I actually went into a Dunkin' Donuts for the first, I had never been to a Dunkin' Donuts. And I went in there because someone said, oh yeah, I really think Dunkin' Donuts coffee is better than Starbucks. So I'm like, all right, let me go try. And I wasn't like that impressed with the coffee. I mean, that was okay. But, it certainly lacked, from my perspective, the personality that a Starbucks has. But I think I read somewhere, they said, if you go to any like cabbie in New York, he's drinking Dunkin' Donuts, but the graphic designer in the back seat is drinking Starbucks. And I think that's kind of brand at work, the personality you put out. I looked something up recently, and it said that decades ago, branding was defined as design components that distinguished one company product or service from another. Today, branding is more about the personality of your product and how people feel about it. So I really like that. But advertising is a pretty clear cut thing. What it is. You're clearly broad. You're basically saying buy when you're doing an ad. Marketing and branding is a little bit different. And I don't know. With each section of the webinar, I want to reference or recommend a book. I don't know. This is a new book. This is Branding by Seth Godin. It's really an awesome book. It just came out, I don't know, maybe a month or so ago, and I'm already on my third read through it. It's definitely not about tactics. He doesn't talk about tactics. He talks about how to just think about your business and how to think about the relationships with the people that you deal with. So definitely a must read. Is anyone aware of this idea of the marketing funnel? Has anyone heard that term before? And if so, can you share with us what the marketing funnel is?
Well, I think it's a way to just like a funnel would be, take a large group of people and siphon them down into closer to making a purchase or buying into your cause or whatever.
Right. It's a real simple idea. Your message is being broadcast to, let's say, 20,000 people in your community, 1,000 qualified people that, might be looking for music lessons. And then a smaller percentage are going to actually go to your website, and a smaller percentage, an even smaller percentage are actually going to contact you. And out of that percentage, an even smaller percentage are going to actually convert into customers. And, it's I hear that term marketing funnel a lot. But John Jantsch, in his book, Duct Marketing, introduced this idea of the marketing hourglass, which I think is really, fascinating. He says, okay, well, the top part of the hourglass, that's your funnel. Where you're attracting customers, you're getting more qualified, leads, and then you eventually make the sale. But there's another part of the whole process, the bottom part of the hourglass, which is really where the relationship with the customer happens. And that is the part of the customer relationship that we often tend to neglect the most, because we're always so worried about, we got to get new customers, got to get new leads. Meanwhile, you've got these relationships that these are people that are in your business that it's so easy to neglect them. And it's so important that we don't neglect them, because they've already on a certain level have made some level of commitment. I mean, within your, customer base, you have more people, you have some people that are really committed to your studio, and other people that are still kind of uncertain about your studio. Meanwhile, I think all of us, or anyone who owns a business, has a little, hole, little hole in the gas tank, and gas is seeping out, and those are your customers leaving you. The bigger that hole is, the more work you have to do on the top end of the funnel, trying to get, or the top end of the hourglass, trying to get people in. But if you can get that hole really small, and you can, improve your retention, you don't have to work so hard on the top end of the hourglass. So here's a little acronym that I'm always kind of thinking in my head. It's A.C.M, attract, convert, and maintain. Attract leads, convert into customers, and then maintain and build those relationships. And I make a point to always ask myself every day, what am I doing to attract leads? What am I doing to convert into customers? And then what am I doing to maintain those relationships? Here's the book, Duct Tape Marketing, John Jantsch, great book. I actually checked out his podcast. I wasn't so blown away by his podcast, but he's a great writer. Don't tell him that I'm not a fan of the podcast, but really great book. That's one of those books that I've read, at least twice. There's a few books on business that I find myself kind of going back to. It's like the Beatles and Bob Marley. I always go back to those guys. We all have artists that we listen to, we get away from them, and then we go back to them. Okay, so I want to talk about dating and marketing. And I think, I alluded earlier, kind of talking about relationships. Dating is the, one of the, ultimate relationships in our lives. It's dating is how Tim wound up with that lady to his right. Did I say that right? I got it? Yeah. And then commitment in the relationship is how the lady on his left appeared in his life. So I want to look a little bit at how dating in the whole business, the whole marketing hourglass kind of parallel each other. Okay, so when you're dating, your first objective is to do what? It's to get a date, right? You got to get a date before anything can really happen. And then how do you get a date? You have to make an impression on somebody, right? And you have to have a pitch that you're going to pitch to them. Even if a friend sets you up with a friend on a date, your friend has an impression of you, and they already know your sales pitch. They already know what you have to offer. If Tim's, buddy set him up with his wife, his buddy knows how he can, what he has to offer somebody. In business, our objective is to get a date as well. We want to get a phone call. That's the phone date. And how do we get it? We have to, same with dating, we have to make an impression on somebody. And that's where the website comes in. And then we have a message that we have to broadcast. So, and then the next objective in dating is to start a relationship. And in order for that to go well, you have to build trust and you have to make good on your promise. Tim's buddy goes over to his friend and says, "Hey, I know this guy named Tim. He's a really great guy. He's really funny. He's sweet." And now he's got to make good on the promise that his friend made. He needs to show that he's a good guy and that he's sweet and that he's caring. He's got to be all those things that he appears to be on the front end. And then in business, it's the same thing. You got to build a relationship. You got to build trust, and you've got to make good on your promise. And then the ultimate objective with dating is commitment, is marriage or some type of lifelong commitment. What would you guys say is the ultimate objective in business with our students and customers? What would you say? There we go. There's the ultimate goal right there.
I would say that they're telling their friends.
That's it. Referrals.
Lying.
Right. The minute people refer students, or your students refer other people, I think, and there's two different ways. And I think what's interesting about referrals is think of like if you go see a movie or you go to a really good restaurant, it's really good. You want to be the hero and tell all your friends about it, because when they go to that restaurant, they're going to think of you. They're gonna be like, oh, that was, yes, my buddy Stefan recommended this restaurant and it's really great. You become the hero in their life. Everybody wants to be the one to turn their friends on to this great new artist, because they will forever remember you for that. And with students, I think referrals happen in one of two ways. One is somebody goes to one of your customers and says, hey, I'm looking for piano lessons. Do you know any place? And then they say, oh yeah, well, we take lessons, over here at Milder's Arts Academy. Or the person who's in your studio is so aligned with your business and is such a fan that they can't help but tell people about it. Mike Grande, and if some of you listen to Music Lesson Business Academy, he talks about these very over the top experiences that he creates for his customers. They're so over the top that the customers probably can't help but talk to other people about it. Imagine if someone came into your studio and said, wow, so come to your studio, and one day out at the front entrance is this red velvet chain link kind of gate that you see like when you go to some exclusive event, and there's someone there in a like in a tuxedo and sunglasses and a security earpiece, and is acting like a security guard to welcome your students in, and he like treats them all like they're rock stars. The parents are going to be like, what the hell was that? They're going to take pictures of it and they're going to tell their friends because it was the weirdest kind of thing. And there's a book, I think it's called Find Your Yellow Tux. It's really all about kind of creating these over-the-top experiences for your customers. So yeah, referrals for us, if you got people referring other people to your studio, those are going to be your loyal customers. They're going to be getting people coming into your funnel, not at the very top of the funnel, but right at the phone call. And it just makes your life a hell of a lot easier. Okay, so let's kind of go back to this whole dating scenario. Okay, you're now going to go online, and you're going to do like it was an eHarmony or Match.com, and you're going to write an ad for you. What the whole online dating thing happened after I got married, but if I was like, I don't know, a single 28-year-old now, I'd probably be on one of those websites. What do you think you would have to have? This is a question for you guys. What do you think that your online dating ad would need to have in it?
Personality.
Somewhat?
Personality.
Okay, good. And how is that personality? How are you going to convey that personality?
Well, as a guy who does marketing, it'd probably be through some sort of sales copy.
Right. But what's the first thing before you can get to that sales copy?
Maybe a picture of my gorgeous face.
A picture of your face. And because from your face, people are going to make assumptions. From your eyes, if they can tell if you have kind eyes, they can tell from your smile. They're already, before they read that copy about you, they're going to form opinion by looking at that picture. And then you're going to go and you're going to write your copy. But really, you're not going to get a date unless that picture conveys a message, and if that copy conveys a message. I would say hands down, the biggest issue I see in our industry is poor websites, poor images, and poor copy. People talking about how great their studio is. Nobody cares about that. All they care about is what are you going to do for me? How are you going to change my life? Stefan's read this book, Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. This is like one of those, like, you really can't read this book once. It's just got too much good stuff in it. And be sure to, I really encourage you to have you guys seen his website review video? Have you seen it, Stefan?
Yeah, I think I have.
It's just awesome.
What website is this?
If you just Google website reviews Donald Miller,
okay.
these people come, I mean, I'd be petrified to do this. People throw their websites, or he pulls their websites up on this big monitor, and he gives them a critique in front of an audience. I mean, that's a pretty gutsy move from those people who get those reviews. And people put these websites up that I think look amazing, and then he points out these flaws in their messaging. It's really, really great. I would never put my website on there. I'd be too petrified. Okay, so we're talking about kind of the copy for your personal ad. It's really gonna this book. I don't know, have you guys seen the Simon Sinek video about discover your why? This is an amazing book. Start with Why by Simon Sinek. If you just Google Start with Why Simon Sinek, there's an amazing TED Talk that he did. But it's all about discovering the essence of your music studio and in your core beliefs. And I recently wrote my core values, my core beliefs for my studio, and I sat my staff down and I shared it with them, and they loved it. They were eating it up. And there's been a couple, or I find myself that all my marketing now is kind of built off of this core belief. And I want to share with you what I came up for my studio's core belief or core message. None of this language, it's not on my website. It's not in any of my marketing materials. It's more of like, this is what the whole business is built on. And I think Simon Sinek, so it could have been someone else, said your core message should start with "we believe." This is what we believe. So here's my belief for my music school. It says, we believe that music has the ability to transform a child's life. Music lessons that are fun makes kids want to continue learning. We offer rock band and lessons that allow kids to experience success and accomplishment on day one. That's our core belief. And I kind of use that as when I'm in a situation and I kind of need like a light or a beacon in the fog to kind of get out of it. Maybe I have an upset customer, or they're thinking of dropping out because their kid's not practicing. Or I hire a new teacher and I want to get them dialed in to my studio's kind of core values. I start off with this, and it's been really great. So I encourage everyone to have a we believe statement, because your belief isn't we believe kids should practice and that we should make a lot of money at our studio. No, your belief is something more. It's all about kind of what got you into music and what motivates and drives your business. So let's move on. So we've got our core, belief system. You've now got this website that's broadcasting this message, trying to get to the top of the funnel, the top of the hourglass. It's really important that we identify our ideal customer. Can anyone here share with everyone sort of what are some attributes that your ideal customer has? It could be age, gender, income, interest, education level. Who's that person that you're looking for? Can you, first of all, let's go male or female. Do you feel that you're typically that person who contacts you is going to be male or female?
I would say female. I always tell people I'm marketing to moms of 5 to 12-year-olds is okay. Probably my core. Right,
and you probably have some dads call too, right?
Some, yeah.
And what percentage do you of those initial inquiries are female?
I'd say 75%.
Okay, so that's does everyone else, would everyone agree, or does everyone kind of have a similar story?
Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Okay, so in our messaging, we got to keep that in mind. I've seen, first of all, I encourage you guys to check out, you guys all know School of Rock, check out their website. Their messaging is geared towards the teenager. I think Tim's on it. He talks, so we have to understand what are moms looking for? before we can do any marketing or messaging, we have to understand that. I've been interviewing a lot of my customers kind of with that question. You're trying to understand what is it that they're looking for. They are not interested in music lessons. They don't want their kids to be rock stars. All they care about is they want their kids to be happy. They want their kids to find something that's meaningful in their lives. They want their kids to connect. They want their kids to be to be confident. They want their kids to learn life skills. So I think that's important in our messaging. I mean, would you guys, agree to that's kind of what your customers are looking for? Are you getting phone calls from people saying, look, I really want my child to be able to audition and to get into Juilliard one day. Can you help me?
Once every 5 years, I get one.
Well, I
Yeah.
get people that want to get them into the really super specialized high schools in the area that we have here that feed into Juilliard and other high-level musical schools.
And what percentage of your customers and inquiries fall into that category?
Oh, well, probably about a third, I would say.
Okay. And then the rest of them kind of have.
And then the rest are like the 5 to 12-year-olds and people looking for lessons for their kids.
And Tim, what's your experience been like?
I think a lot of folks like my approach is usually just if you want, like, I'm not here to create a Juilliard student. We're here to have fun. We're the fun studio. So the people that call me know that we're not taking it too seriously. And that's kind of my branding, is that we're just here to have fun. And through that, we learn. So
how do they know that? How do they know that that's who you are?
Well, primarily, I've never really, up until recently, I've never really used any conventional advertising. It's always been just through word of mouth, whether it's people at my local church who know me and see me play on stage, or people in the community that I buy from a guitar store. They know my personality. They'll send me people. Primarily, that's been my biggest source of students, and an occasional drive-by. But yeah, that's the approach that we usually have. People that are parents calling in, and they're usually pleasantly surprised when they find out that I'm not trying to get kids to memorize complex theory and stuff. You're right, they want kids to have fun.
And well, and so my studio, we've got a lot, we've got kids rock and junior rockers. So my studio is young. And I'd say the average age is 10, maybe, probably 10. And we have this teenage population too. And the manager of my studio and I were kind of always back and forth about, do we really try to go after them and market to them? Or do we put our energy on sort of that, 75% of our customers? And I'm inclined, like there's some of the people who license my programs they have dance and they have music. And they have this dilemma of like, okay, what do they lead with in their marketing? And I always say to them, I was like, you got to kind of lead with your bread and butter. If my studio's young, then that's kind of where I lead, but I still try to convey, oh, hey, Christina, how are you? More people. But yeah, did someone chime in with a comment? Okay, does anyone feel like they have a dilemma in terms of trying to have this broad message in their messaging and marketing?
I used to have that problem.
What's that?
I used to have that problem where I was trying to focus on everybody, trying to please everybody. And just recently, in the last 6 months, once I actually got your program, my thought was, I'm just going to focus on a specific set. So now my website has been changed and altered to feature primarily young folks, because that is where most of the people are coming from.
That's great. And actually, for those of you that have access to chat on the right, it'd be great if you guys at some point can throw in your URLs to your website. I'm actually going to put mine in right now. Here's my school. Um, and okay, so we talked about the ideal customer is probably female. I think it was Stefan. You had said that the age range, not of the customer, but of their children, you said it's 5 to 12.
Yeah, usually.
Anyone else kind of have anyone have appealing to an older population? Is everyone else kind of in that same age range?
I focus on the 5 to 12s, but I do have about a third of my students are over 50.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Anyone else getting that age group?
We have a handful of ladies in their 60s, about 8 of them. Yeah.
And that's another thing that we've, in my studio said, okay, maybe we should market to the adults. And we really don't, just because it's like, I worry, as Donald Miller says, you confuse, you lose. If you start broadcasting too many messages, people get confused. I think people like adults, it's like we market to them internally in the studio. We have these cards that says free lesson for any parent or sibling. And every once in a while we'll do a little promotion just targeting the parents. What about income level? What is sort of the income level of your ideal customer? Over 100, under 100,000 a year?
Oh, I would say definitely over 100.
So kind of so those are people that have some money to spend.
Yeah, like a lot of engineers, lawyers, IT people who commute into the city.
I think that also kind of connects with what you were saying earlier about, you do have some people that kind of have these high expectations. Clearly you've got some, customers that are ambitious and value, high standards. But I have a hunch that your pricing is also on the high end. Am I right?
Well, no, not really. I mean, for the area, it's probably average. I could probably go, depending on where I go, I could go a lot higher, but I don't.
You know what I want to do is in a second, I want everyone to share with us what they're charging for 30-minute monthly lessons. But let's first figure out, I want to get everyone's kind of demographic. Stefan, what would you say the earning range is at your studio?
I don't know. I haven't. It would be good, I guess, to ask what people are doing. I don't have any questions. I don't ask them those questions, so I don't know. I know that I market to the above 55,000 and up to whatever. The sky's the limit there.
You know what you can do is you certainly know what zip codes your people are coming from, right?
Yeah, certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so throw in the zip code and then look up, median income for that zip code.
It ranges so much. This is a small town, so one side of the street could be, high end, and the other side low end. So it's tough to get an average.
How roughly?
I would guess probably in the 80s, probably.
Okay.
In this area.
Okay. And Tim, what would you say? Wait, I'm gonna unmute you, man.
Sorry.
There you are.
The question was?
Oh, in terms of what is sort of the average earning or salary of or income of people in your area, in your studio?
Well, my studio's location is somewhat in the center of town. Its location is not, I would probably say the location of is probably $75,000 a year, 60 to 75,000 if I had to guess.
So you're similar to Stefan, it sounds like, probably.
Yeah, I've never actually gone and found those specifics out, but it's not in an amazing neighborhood, but it's a very convenient location.
And
And
Christina,
where are you located?
I'm located in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Oh, okay.
what would you say the average salary is for?
Median income is about 70,000 for the city. It's a little higher, I think about 80 for my main zip code of students.
Mm-hmm. And is everyone comfortable? So I would say for me, I'm probably in the, above 100,000, sort of a upper middle class, we get some fancy Porsches rolling in the parking lot every once in a while. So can everyone share with us what they are charging for 30-minute monthly lessons? And I'll be curious to see what kind of fluctuation we have now that we've heard everybody's sort of, average salary.
Yeah, so ours is 116.
For 116 a month.
Yeah.
Okay, and my studio's I'm 135 a month. And I'm sorry, can you tell me your name again? 856. Since I can't see it, I forgot it already.
Oh, is that Julia,
Yeah.
or are you
Julia,
talking to me?
you. Yeah, Julia.
Yeah, in New Jersey, it's like where we are in Central, it's 160, and in Northern New Jersey, we're charging 180.
Look at you. Wow. You get a ribbon for that. That's great.
What do you mean?
I think that's awesome that you're charging that. And more importantly, that you're getting it.
Well, it's slow, but I don't know. I find that the people that are willing to pay that seem to stay longer than other ones.
It's a really, really important point. They clearly value your service if they're going to pony up $180 a month. That's great. That's a whole conversation in of itself. I mean, I know so many people are afraid. Oh, thank you, Christina. I see your rates. We're all afraid to raise our rates. And this is the first year in maybe like 5 or 6 years I didn't raise my tuition. And I've maybe lost 2 or 3 customers that I know of because of a rate increase. Okay, Christina.
Yeah, I know. I just had a lesson with a student that I haven't seen in a few years, and I've raised my rates, and she saw me, and I saw her today, and I was all like, "Oh no, what is she going to say when she finds out I charge more?" And you know what? She was perfectly fine with it.
Did she even notice?
No, she did. She just like, "Okay, I'll write you a check." It was fine. Right. No problem.
Good for you. No, I think and so do you have people in your market charging over $200 for 30-minute lessons?
I think in areas that are closer to New York, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, cost of living there is obviously higher.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm not trying to brag or anything. It just happens to be where we live, so.
Well, look, your cost, your rent. I mean, on the flip side, your expenses are, going to be higher. Okay,
exactly.
Christina is charging $112 for 30-minute lessons, and 100 and then 60-minute group is $100 a month. Okay, and then you said 70,000 to 80,000. Christina, I think your rates are nice because you're not dealing with, I mean, people are, if they're earning, say, in that 60 to 80 price range, you're not dealing with, like what Julia has to work with. And Tim, did we get everybody? I think so. And
mine is for $130 for 30-minute private lessons.
And I'm curious, when did you last raise your rates?
Actually, last year I raised it to $160 a month.
And what happened?
And I was trying to offer more value, and so what I was doing was I offered an hour lesson, which is 30 minutes face to face, and then like another 30 minutes on. I was trying to create like a computer lab with like, have you ever heard of like fret light guitars where they plug the guitar in and all the fretboard lights up and you can look at a scale and apps and things like that. I was trying to provide, so they would take an extra 30 minutes and do this computer lab. And I had several people doing that, and a lot of them just kind of flaked out. There were some complaints about the raised rates, and so I just kind of slowly dipped it back down to 130. But I still have several people at the 160. I'll probably bring back up again next year.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure that was a difficult process for you.
Yeah, it's hard to it's hard when people are willing to pay it and other people are barking at you about the rate change. So I just slowly dipped down the ones that were complaining about it and dropped them down to 30 minutes without the computer lab, and now I don't even do the computer lab anymore.
Mm-hmm. All right, but it sounds like you're comfortable with your rate now, and it's going to be on the move at some point. Something that, in terms of kind of mapping out sort of this ideal customer, I don't know if any of you've seen the interviews I've done where I've asked parents. I asked them, why do you think music lessons are important for a child? And that's been very revealing to me. One thing that I'm hearing is that parents really buy into this idea that music lessons has some sort of special voodoo and will help their kids. And I totally buy it. I mean, I believe it, that if you're playing music, your emotional and intellectual health will benefit from it. But parents really, that's one of the driving factors, behind a lot of parents, is that they don't want their kids, they don't care about Juilliard. They just want their kids to kind of get the benefits that music has to offer. So that's also something else through our marketing that we can consider. Okay, so I don't want to get too much into broadcasting our message. We talked about our websites, and we talked about getting copy that's going to really convey our message. Now we got to get that message out there, and I think I don't know, social media. I'd be curious to hear what your people thought, and maybe you could do it here on the side. If you were to rank between a scale from 1 to 10, your sort of what you feel is your sort of expertise on social media and whether you're leveraging that in terms of what it's capable of. Let's all rank ourselves. I want to do it first. I want to say I'm a 7 in terms of utilizing Facebook, utilizing Instagram, and really celebrating the students. We got a 5 from Christina. She's honest. And Christina, is that something that you're working on?
Yes.
Okay. And I'm considering bringing in like some high school senior to be my social media person. That I like. Again, listen to Danny Thompson's podcast. It's called Music Lesson Business Academy. There's an episode in there, maybe 2, with Mike Grande. He's from Staten Island School of Rock, not the franchise. He's changing his name, I think, to Rock Out Loud. But he does a great episode on social media and just celebrating the kids. One thing that I've learned from kids is that they really look like, when you put a kid on Facebook or Instagram that isn't old enough to be on Instagram, it's almost like telling them that they're going to be on TV. They think it's the greatest thing in the world. So like, I was working with the band yesterday. I'm like, guys, we're going to do a Facebook live stream. And I had them write a song, junior rocker song, live on Facebook. They did it in about 15 minutes. And they were like, I kind of did it as a tactic to get them to behave. But because, I was like, you guys, everyone in the world's going to see this. But if any of you are down on social media or overwhelmed with it, Tim, you got a 4. You can, I assume you guys have all heard of Gary Vaynerchuk. He's the guy to listen to. He's an engaging, foul-mouthed, entertaining guy, but he's a sage. He just understands this stuff. This is his newer book. It's called Crushing It. The main book that everyone always references is Crush It. that he wrote in 2009. I mean, it's crazy. The book is, it's only, 8, 9 years old, but it's a lot of the things that he talks about in Crush It are already obsolete. So much has changed since then. But check out Gary Vaynerchuk. Even just like his podcast, just like, for those of you that are kind of, ranking in kind of the 4 to 5 range, he'll really inspire you, really motivate you, give you some great ideas. But still, a good place to start is that Music Lesson Business Academy podcast with Mike Grande. I wish I had that episode number here. Okay, so you're broadcasting your message. Your social media is going great. You're putting money in Facebook ads. Gary Vaynerchuk talks a lot about Facebook ads. I'm just curious, who here is advertising on Facebook on a regular, consistent basis?
I am.
You are? And how much are you spending a day?
When I do it just a few times a year, but I'll spend for a 2 or 3 day period, $250 or so, and run it for just a few days.
And are you doing your ads or are you outsourcing it?
I'm doing them.
Okay. Anyone else doing Facebook ads? No?
Right now.
Julia? Are you?
We're still developing our website.
Okay. And you know what? I wouldn't do ads until you got that website so dialed in.
Well, yeah, that's kind of why we're holding off. Yeah.
Gary Vaynerchuk, check out his Tim, your kids cannot be in the room when you play this, but Gary Vaynerchuk's keynote in London in September of 2018. He's gonna kick you in the butt. You will leave that. You're going to leave that listening to that, just kind of going, okay, I know exactly what I got to do with social media. But hands down, I run Facebook ads every day. I never turn them off. I spend maybe $5 a day on it. And I have a Facebook person. We have a call once a month. I don't know, maybe I spend maybe $200 a month on the phone with them. And that person helps me understand how the ads are performing. I really encourage you to do ads over boosting. I've not had a lot of luck with Facebook Boost, but Ads Manager has become more complex, and the cost of Facebook ads is going up. So get in now while it's still super cheap. But check out that Gary Vaynerchuk in keynote speech in London. You can look it up on YouTube or check out his podcast, but he'll really give you, you'll walk away from that with a whole new understanding. So if your website's not dialed in, Julia's working on it. Tim, I know you're working on it. When is your website?
Mine's going to be done this week. I can't wait.
The rough draft of it looks really good. It looks really good. But if you want more students today, get that website dialed in. Check out StoryBrand. And then if you want to start getting more traffic to your website, check out that Gary Vaynerchuk stuff. Okay, so now you've got a lead on the phone. And I used to treat these leads as just, it was a phone call. I would just talk with them. Oh, okay, Christina. Yeah, you're interested in music lessons? Well, let me tell you about our school. We're open these days of the week, and I would just kind of talk. And you know what? A lot of times it worked. I built my school that way. But then I read this book, Changed My Life. It's by Zig Ziglar. You guys heard of him?
Mm-hmm.
It's called Ziglar on Selling. This guy is he's just got the art of selling down. And it's really about the art of persuasion. If Christina wants to go out to see a movie one night, she wants to go see Bohemian Rhapsody, but her friend wants to go see some romantic comedy, Christina now has to persuade her friend that no, Bohemian Rhapsody is the movie to see tonight. And she's got to do it in a way. She can't tell her friend, well, I really love Queen. And no, she's got to talk to her friend about how this movie is going to impact her friend. and she's got to direct everything to her friend. My whole sales game has changed since I read that book. The one question I always ask a prospective student is, what inspired you to seek out music lessons for your child? And they just kind of spill everything. I find out their need. I find out their pain points. Maybe they say like, well, I took lessons as a kid and I hated it. Okay, there's their pain point. Their pain point is they're worried that their kid is going to have the same experience. And I have some blogs about selling tactics. Again, check out Danny Thompson's podcast. He does 2 episodes with Mike Grande on sales. And then Danny and I do an episode with him where we do some role playing. But for those of you that have staff, Stefan, do you have staff that's answering the phone?
Yeah, I do. I've actually, most of my time the last couple months has been hiring new staff and training them. So yeah, I do have them answering phones.
And how do you train them on sales?
To have a conversation and ask questions, to open up a rapport. Ask them a lot of questions, use their kid's name and the things that they've talked to you, make an impression. My always first point of contact is always going to be a conversation. That way, there's nothing electronic that can really impress anybody, but
right.
but the human voice.
Right. I think that's great. Does everyone have like a sales line that they know when they say it that they're going to get a rise out of the prospect? Anyone have one? I have a list of little bullet points. So with my staff, we do a lot of role playing where we did this game once. And it's really fun. It's a card. You put it says like, mom calling for lessons for 8-year-old son, some little description. You pull the card out of a hat and then you got to sell to that person. And doing role playing in front of your staff, wow, it's really, really hard to do. But the more you do it, the more you learn. I also want something Zig Ziglar talks a lot about and I do this, is I record myself on the phone during the sales call, and then I listen to it. Hands down, one of the most painful experiences of my life. It was so hard, and I didn't want to do it. But it's like, you know what? I need to do this because if I'm uncomfortable listening to my voice while I'm doing a sales call, how do I expect anyone to buy from me? So I started, recording my calls. I was not impressed with it. And I really started working on my whole sales game. But that is real. That's super important. You want people to walk away going, wow, that Stefan guy, he is like, I really like him. He really understands me. Like, this guy understands me. Displaying empathy and really, trying to kind of understand what your customer is looking for, and then asking yourself, okay, how can my product fix their problem? How can the fact that they're calling you means that they think that you've got something that they need. And you got to go in there and be the hero and say, look, I can fix your problem, and here's how. I know you hated piano lessons as a child. That will not happen here, and this is why. And you got to make sure that you can deliver on it. So check out Zig Ziglar. Okay, so we really, I know we've been going here for a while, but we are now finally at the bottom of our hourglass. We have customers now. And now customers there's 3 stages that they go through. The first stage is they're in a stage of uncertainty. Yes, they had a really good experience, with Stefan on the phone. Stefan seems to be a really knowledgeable, nice guy. But guess what? Stefan's not the kid's teacher. They got somebody else. And they're uncertain. Is this teacher going to really come through on what Stefan promised me? So they're in this sort of stage of uncertainty. And if you manage this right, if you've got your staff well trained and you're following up with these new people, hey, how's it going? They're moving further away from that point of sale. they're going to begin to align with your business and go, oh, okay. They're now going to they're going to start feeling like, yeah, you've made good on your promise. And ultimately you have to get them to a position of amazement where you go beyond what they expected. Yes, I know the website said that, they offer music lessons that kids love. And yes, I talked to Stefan on the phone, and he kind of built my excitement. He built my desire up, and I went into my lessons, and my teacher also is really, awesome. Now I'm amazed because Stefan sent me an article about yoga, and I don't remember ever mentioning yoga to him. Oh yeah, she did mention yoga when you first met her, that she had to go to a yoga class. You made a mental note of it, put it in her account, and then 3 months later said, oh yeah, I was thinking of you. I saw this article, thought you might enjoy it. Whoa, that's where you're moving to a culture of amazement, where you're doing things that customers don't expect. I mean, we all do like the birthday cards and the birthday emails, and that's nice. It's a nice touch. But if you have a kid who's broke his arm and can't, take, guitar for a few weeks, and your staff gathers around and makes a quick video kind of going, hey, we heard you broke your arm, hope you feel better, and you send it to them. Now you're moving to that level of amazement. There's a book by Shep Hyken called Cult of the Culture of the Customer, and it's all about how to kind of work customers on the bottom end of the marketing hourglass. Also, there's a video by Joey Coleman, The First 100 Days, and he says the first 100 days is the most crucial part of the customer relationship. This is where they're either gonna move from this moment of uncertainty to alignment to amazement, and so many of us neglect our customers during that initial period by following up, by having emails and phone calls coming to them and checking in with them. It really helps with that. And then if you have customers who are amazed, they're going to refer, and referrals is where the whole thing kind of comes to life. So you guys, that is my presentation for tonight. Christina, before she takes us out on a ukulele song, does anyone have any questions or things that they'd like to share? Okay, no, it looks like we lost Stefan right at about the 9 o'clock hour. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Oh yeah, go ahead, Julia.
No, I was just going to thank you. This has been very helpful.
Oh, good.
Giving me even more ideas, and now I'm overwhelmed again.
Well,
well.
You know what, but Julia, you've got the website. You're focused on that, It's like I would get that dialed in. If there's anything I would do is I would check out website reviews, Donald Miller. Start at minute 6. Mm-hmm. I've watched that probably over 20 times.
Yeah, well, we just had a recital where we had a photographer take incredible pictures of the kids and the families and everything. So I'm very excited to get the pictures up on the new website.
What
was the guy's name? Miller, you said?
Donald Miller.
Oh, okay.
And you know what? It's right. We all get overwhelmed. It's like, oh my God, all this stuff. It's like, here's what you've got is you've got a website and you're going to give it a makeover. So focus on that. I would not worry right now about the top end of the hourglass. I would, and I'm just curious, how many students do you currently have?
Oh, we have maybe 20 right now. It's not much.
So you got to protect those. You got to, you got to protect those students. So I would really focus on how can you make their experience at your studio amazing, not the music lessons. Your teachers got the music lessons down. It's how can you make the kids feel celebrated? How can you make them feel special? How can you build community and build culture within your studio? That's something you can do today. For example, like at my school, we have these like social nights where like the kids come out on a Saturday. They love that. And we used to do movie nights. So you don't have a lot of students, so you got to protect that asset. and you can't afford to have a hole in your gas tank because you don't have a lot of
Mhm.
gas in there
No.
right now. But your website, you get that thing dialed in, and you get
Uh-huh.
do you have are you designing it, or do you have like a professional design?
Oh, yeah, we've been working with Danny actually, and he recommended Christina, who's
Yeah,
out in the
yeah,
Los Angeles area. She's working with us now on it.
all right, you're in good hands. The more you can, watch that video, because it will, I think, help guide you as to
Mhm.
kind of having a sense of what it is that you want. But that photograph that's key. And the fact that
Mhm.
you had a photographer come out was a great investment. What did it
It's
cost?
actually going to be a lot of fun, and it's
Well, actually, he was very cheap because he was a friend of mine, so that was even better. But yeah, I'm really excited about these pictures.
You know what I would love for you to do is maybe share on Danny's group or my group as a before and after photo. You too, Tim. I know you're, I mean, I think your Tim's, your website's pretty, decent right now. But what I saw you working on is even better. But yeah, I think Julia, you're in really good
Hmm.
shape and good hands.
Okay, well, that makes me feel better. Okay. Yeah, it's just such a hard market we're in here. There's so much competition.
Uh-huh. Right. So I think your big thing is then what, you got to get to that core message and go, well, how are you different than those people? You
Hmm.
know, maybe by the fact that you have like Friday night movie nights once a month or
Hmm.
that's how you can be different. It's because it's hard to say, well, we offer music lessons. So do we, so do we, so do we. Well, our music lessons are fun. Well, it's like, no, you've got to have a real distinct characteristic um, that really separates you. And it's not going to come from the music. It's going to come on how you make your students and
Hmm.
customers feel.
Oh, okay.
You
Well,
know,
this is so helpful. Thank you so much.
that's so good. Have you heard the Mike Grande, Danny Thompson podcast?
No, I don't think I have. Mike
That's
Grande. Okay.
yeah. It's go to check out Danny's podcast,
Yeah.
and it's pretty recently, and
Oh, okay.
and those two have a great chemistry. It will just give you like one idea after another.
Hmm.
His whole thing is celebrate the student, make the student feel special, and give them status within your studio.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah. So like we're gonna have like a wall. We don't have it now. We've been talking about having like a wall of fame wall, and like
Hmm.
when you reach a certain tier, like you are forever on that wall. Your picture goes up there, and
Hmm.
just like I've just seen with social media, when I put a kid on Instagram, they freak out and think it's the coolest thing in the world.
Yeah. Well, we don't really have a brick and mortar school, so I'm seeing from talking to you that we need to be more with it with the social media because that can be our wall of fame rather
Mm.
than
Right.
the brick and mortar.
Right. I think there's
Yeah.
a guy named Darren Simon, not related to me. He owns a business called In-Home Jams, and he's similar to you, where it's all teachers going out into the field.
Hmm.
Um, so he has that. He has a brick and mortar, and he's got teachers going out
Uh-huh.
into the field. Is a brick and mortar something that you at some point will explore?
I think eventually, but we want to get out there and get ourselves known, I think, before we invest in having a brick and mortar place.
Uh-huh.
Just because there's so many in our area. I mean, there's so many little music schools all over the place.
Right. So just, what is your uniqueness? It's not going to be the brick and mortar. And
Hmm.
yes, you're going home. There's something else that you do that your competitors aren't. And it's all about, can you make your students feel a way that your competitors aren't? And can you celebrate them in a way
Hmm.
that's unique?
Yeah, I think we already do that
Good.
when I think about it.
Yeah, and just keep coming up with more ways. I mean, that
Mhm.
Mike Grande podcast, it's like this guy clearly is like highly caffeinated and constantly coming up with new ideas on,
Mhm.
on how to, get, his kids excited. He's a pretty infectious dude. So definitely worth
Mhm.
checking out. All right, guys.
Yeah.
Well, feel free to, reach out on, either, phone, email, and certainly in the Facebook groups. And I'll post this up there so we can all look at our beautiful faces.
Except mine.
Right. All right,
Okay. Well,
guys.
thank you very much.
Thank you. Good
Okay.
night.
Night.